We're struggling here, guys. We are struggling. This thing really started right at 7 o'clock. My goodness. I had no idea what I was doing. You guys missed it. I just got so mad. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get this to work. Just bear with me here. Sorry, this is poor preparation on my front. Welcome in, everybody. We ended up with CJ Stroud at number 2, which is definitely not the end of the world. It's going to be just fine. We traded. We got a lot to talk about here. Poor planning on me to start this right at 7. I didn't realize it was literally like, boom, you're on the clock right at 7. The Panthers guy didn't do us any favors by picking like the second the clock started either. All right. Now we got Teddy barking trying to come inside. It's all a mess. Okay, let's see if I can just. Oh my gosh. Put me like down here maybe. I don't know. This site is a little bit difficult to like format for a stream like this. But we're going to go with that. Let me let Teddy in real quick. Okay. I was planning on taking Will Anderson with the number 2 pick, and I had him right here, and then it changed screens, and it all of a sudden turned into CJ Stroud real quick. But hey, it's all right. Teddy, let's come inside. Come on, buddy. We're rocking and rolling now. This is gonna be a fun stream here, you guys. We're gonna be doing this 32-person 7-round mock draft, controlling the Houston Texans. I have already made a trade, and let's see if we can go ahead and figure out how to do that. I've never used this site before. I probably should have practiced before I got in here. But we made a trade with the Denver guy. So let's see if I can propose it. I guess we just trade the pick. The players aren't in here. And I haven't even had a chance to like react to the pick. So let me just send this real quick. So he gets 202 and we get whatever, 2024. Let me just tell him that I sent the trade, and then I can finally focus on reacting to these picks here. It's moving fast. But when you go and get Jerry Jeudy, as I did with the 33rd overall pick, he came to me and said, "Are you interested in Jerry Jeudy?" And I said, "Yes, I'll give you pick 33 for him." You put CJ Stroud there. You got a couple of Bama receivers. You got plenty of help, good O-line. They bring in Dalton Schultz. That is a team that CJ Stroud can succeed in. So I am certainly not upset about it. Even if I think the idea of taking Will Anderson is fascinating, and I kind of wanted to go that route, I'm really not going to complain with getting QB2, who is still my QB2 despite the C2 test stuff going around, which I'm sure I will talk about or get some questions about as we're hanging out for the live stream here. But we are settled in now. Bijan Robinson just went to the Falcons. That is a pick that I think come draft week next week could come off the board and really shock the world. But you look at Arthur Smith valuing the run game and how the Falcons have just kind of gone best player available regardless of position. It would be pretty crazy if they did it, and it wouldn't stun me. As a proud owner of Tyler Algier. Man, these picks are flying in. The Bears took Paris Johnson. You know, good pick. I make that all the time. The Eagles take Broderick Jones. I like it. That's, something I've done in pretty much all my mock drafts is target. Here is the draft now in there. Man, people are not hesitating. But, I like the Eagles getting a little, guard day one at right guard and a long-term tackle option. Lane Johnson, 33 years old. We don't know how long he's going to keep playing for, so we know what Howie likes to do there. So now we can see kind of who's picking here. Some of them we might see some familiar faces. Some of them we might not. Hail Mary, our dude, Alex. We went on his channel for a mock draft this year. And he took Will Levis to the Titans at 11. If he is there at 11, I think that is just too good a value to pass up. But finally, we got someone milking the... Oh, it's me. Oh, my gosh, you guys. What the heck? Van Ness. Did we get the pick in? I am handling this so poorly. We got the pick in. Holy crap, you guys. This is rough. I like that pick. I really do. I've made that pick before. I'm glad I was able to get that in time. That is honestly the pick I would have made there. I love how Van Ness fits with our defense. And when I didn't go Will Anderson at number 2, I think he really would plug in his pocket pushing ability there for the, D'Amico Ryan system is going to be nasty. So I think with going CJ Stroud at 2, we've now got the quarterback figured out, an edge position that hopefully can step in right away and be a little bit more of a win now, or just an immediate impact rather on the edge than I think he might be in other systems, just because of how much they're going to scheme him up with stunts and stuff. D'Amico Ryans, that front, they're going to run probably top 5 amount of stunts in the NFL next year. And then with the 33rd pick, we got Jerry Jeudy. That's kind of something that a lot of you probably don't even know yet. And Hamanth just said, why not JSN? It's because we traded that 33rd pick for Jerry Jeudy. So we've upgraded the receiver room. We've upgraded the quarterback, the edge, and now we're in business. So these picks are flying off the board, man. Saw the Packers took Darnell Wright at 13. I do not like that pick for whoever is picking for Green Bay. To make that a pick swap and then take Darnell Wright, I don't get that personally, especially with Jackson Smith and Jigba there. I think tackle is an extremely overstated need, not just with Bakhtiari there, but with Zach Tom, how good he played last year. You still got Yosh Neiman. Not that Wright's a bad pick, but to me, that team needs playmakers. Man, it is like these people know what they want. If the draft happens this fast next Thursday, we are screwed. How is Devon Witherspoon still there? This is where it really sucks that we weren't paying attention, you guys. God damn. What are you guys doing? The Saints trade up for Myles Murphy. This mock draft is insane. I didn't even see that happen. So, a lot to react to. Randy H. Bro, what are you doing? Trading up for a guy that might be there at 30. I couldn't disagree with that anymore, especially when you're the Saints and you are flooded with needs. For everybody else, myself included, I will say I am just as guilty here as everybody else. Holy crap. Devon Witherspoon at 17. We screwed this thing up. That's a blue chip player. That is the equivalent of like Derwin James falling to 17 at an even more valuable position. And if I was paying any attention, what is happening? Felix Anaduke Uzama to the Detroit Lions at 18. What are I am in shock. I am in shock. That is a second round player. You are passing on someone like Nolan Smith. Wow. I can't even tell if Kalijah Cansey's off the board yet because these picks are flying in so fast. To not take a guy like Joey Porter there at 18 if you're the Lions. You just took Jalen Carter, which is a fine pick at 6, but whoa, that would be a reach and a half if they did that. Okay, finally a normal pick. I feel less worse about my Lucas Van Ness pick with how these last 5 picks have gone. But yeah, for the Raiders, what a steal! The Raiders ended up taking Peter Skoronski at 7, which is definitely a bit of a surprise. But we are rolling, man. Shane in the chat says, I'm the Bears in this, and I have no idea what's going on with other teams. The Chargers have taken Zay Flowers. You guys know I like that pick. I've made that one myself in the past. Getting themselves a little bit more of a vertical threat. But let's talk a little bit about taking C.J. Stroud at number 2. And the C2 test. So, full disclosure, if you couldn't tell, this thing started with a little bit of a chaos meter. And I swear to God, I had my finger on Will Anderson. And something happened with this site where it switched to CJ Stroud. I don't know if I clicked something or what. I don't know if I switched over to all or what happened there. But I ended up taking CJ Stroud. I wanted to take Will Anderson, but, I don't mind getting the quarterback because my alternative plan was to take to pick up like Carson Wentz and just punt on quarterback, which I think is a good route. But we traded this 33rd overall pick for Jerry Jeudy, so you're putting a great situation around him. But let's talk about the C2 test coming in. There's reports that we don't even know how true they are. He scores an 18 on the C2 test, which is basically a cognitive test, and it's throwing different shapes and images at you, trying to see how quickly you can respond to information. What's your mental reaction time, which is obviously so important at the quarterback position. Now the Vikings getting Deonte Banks, that's an A+ pick and a half right there. But yeah, it's very fascinating. This is kind of new for all of us. The NFL's been doing the C2 test, I think, for about a decade. But up until recent years, it's like we're just kind of collecting information on what does it mean anything, and that's sort of S2, not C2. Thank you. But yes, it's so fascinating. I think it's still a little bit early for us to know if it means anything. And I think it's still a little bit sketchy, right? Like we don't even know if these are the official scores. There's people confirming reports, denying reports. It's basically impossible between the low sample size and the rumors or like the uncertainty of how true it is. It's impossible to kind of put any weight into it. The way I look at this is like, it's a minor concern. Like if it's true and he scored that low, I think there's something to this test. I really do. Brock Purdy scored the highest last year. It's not a coincidence that he stepped in right away and could handle it. My theory on it, and again, we're still learning so much about this. My theory is that scoring high on it is solid, but doesn't mean you're going to be good. But if you score low on it, I think I would be concerned, just like how quickly does information process for you. And of course, it's an Ohio State quarterback that this happens to. So I don't think it like cripples his draft stock or changes my grade. I still have him as QB2. I'll stand by this pick at number 2. Just fine. But I think in time, it's going to be really interesting to see as we get more sample size, and maybe if these results become a little bit more public, is this kind of like a 40 time of the brain for the quarterback position where, if a guy runs a slower 40 than you expect, it doesn't mean he's slow. It just means you're a little bit hesitant on that speed grade. If a guy like CJ Stroud shows good tape processing defenses, but he shows, has a low S2 score, are you a little bit hesitant on it? I think it's a very fascinating thing. It's too new. It's too sketchy for me to like change my grade on Stroud or really spend a whole lot of time worrying about it. But if he busts, I think it's something to look back on and kind of beg the question of the importance of that test. Because he is such an outlier. He scored the 18th percentile of these quarterbacks. But let's go back to this mock draft and react to some of these picks. So we saw this crazy run. Lions, bro, what you doing, homie? The Chiefs come up for Nolan Smith. That's interesting. He doesn't really fit their size profile, but I get it. Nolan Smith is awesome. Very similar to them coming up for McDuffie last year, trying to get that kind of true first round talent that sneaks into the 20s. I could certainly see them doing it, and for Broshmo, our dude, to make that pick, I'm about it as long as the coach gave you the okay on that. Deonte Banks to the Vikes, A+ pick, man. I don't need to get into that. You guys know how I feel about Deonte Banks. Darnell Washington to the Jags. I could see it. You've got Ingram there on the franchise tag. Probably not a long-term. So the Saints moved up but kept pick 129? Did they screw this up? Now I'm confused because the Saints moved up to take. Did Washington trade for a first round next year to get in on next year's quarterback class with New Orleans' pick? That would be the only thing that makes sense there. Gosh, dude, I can't get through these slow enough. I mean, honestly, I don't fully hate it for Washington to get a first round next year. It's a very interesting decision. I don't think teams really think about that, but, with the ownership changing hands, maybe that would make sense for them. I don't entirely hate it. But yeah, for the Jags, Darnell Washington can block his ass off right away. Could be someone that comes along as a pass catcher in year 2 for them. Could see it. Giants taking Kalijah Cansey is fascinating to me. It's probably a best player available pick for Bob Skinner there. So it's fine. They have some interior guys already, but it'd be a pretty freaking nice interior rush there. Play a little early down edge. Cowboys taking Jahmyr Gibbs. So 2 first-round running backs. It's not the craziest thing in the world. It really isn't. He's redundant with Tony Pollard, kind of that speed threat. But it wouldn't be the worst pick in the world. He's a really good player. But you guys know how I feel about taking like Mazzie Smith there. Especially when you already have Tony Pollard on the roster and you're trying to win right now. If taking a backup running back in the first round is definitely something to be critical of for sure. So I wouldn't love that pick, but it's not the craziest thing in the world. The Broncos just picked with the pick we sent for Jerry Jeudy, and they take a tackle. That's interesting. After signing McGlinchey, you've got, I'm not sure if that makes sense for the Broncos, but hey, we're sitting there with Jerry Jeudy, CJ Stroud, and Lucas Van Ness. The Colts ended up getting Anthony Richardson, Brandon. But yeah, I'm sorry for the chaotic start to this thing. I really did not expect it to just launch like that. 7 o'clock, it was like the clock changed. I pressed start stream, and it takes like 20 seconds, 40 seconds to like get to YouTube. And the second we started this thing, the Panthers was like, boom, Bryce Young, run it up to the board. And I'm like, oh, crap. But yeah, we're kind of flying here. So, and that reminds me, I actually have a Madden draft going on right now. I might need to I just want to make my first round pick, but as far as my setup is concerned here, I don't know how to do that. those that have been in a Madden league know the importance of not missing your pick. So I do want to just keep an eye on this. I think I can get this. The only way for me to actually look at what's going on is going to be to pull it up on my stream here. So bear with me there. Zadis, no, we traded the 33rd pick for Jerry Jeudy, but there's no way in this platform to like include that. So we're going to have to use our imagination on that. But actually, I think I'm okay. I don't need to put the Madden thing on here. I don't need to bother you guys with my fantasy league offline draft, but I do need to take a second to make that pick because I think I'm coming up. But what else we got here as far as these picks are concerned? We got to keep reacting. So the Bills take Brian Brzee. I think that's a good pick for them. They need pass rush help. I'm a big believer in Brzee. I could see him being very successful there. So I'm cool with that. Yeah, people are not messing around with the speed of this thing. I thought we'd still be in the middle of the first round. Bengals taking Emmanuel Forbes. Goodberry is drafting here in this room. And the Bengals have been linked to Emmanuel Forbes. Goodberry is a very tight-knit Bengals reporter, so I think that's a realistic pick for them. You know, they have questions at corner for sure. You like what Cam Taylor-Britt did them for last year. You have Awuzie in the last year of his deal. And guys, I think this stream is going to be harder to handle than the actual stream the actual draft stream because these picks are flying. This is just like information overload. But yeah, I think that's a good future planning move for the Bengals. I think, I'd be a little bit worried about Lou Anarumo is always going to be a guy that wants to run a little bit of everything. Zone, man, different types of zones. He's one of the more multiple defensive coordinators, defensive schemes in the league. So I'd be very curious about the scheme fit. I'm very adamant that he needs to go to a strictly Fangio-style defense to have his best success. But, I was listening to Dane Brugler's podcast, and Forbes going back the last 6 years of his last 6 years of football, he has 30 interceptions in those 6 years. So that's pretty freaking crazy. Pretty freaking crazy. The amount of ball skills and productions and production and instincts that he's put up. So I'd be willing to give him a chance if Lou Anarumo felt like he could run his system and maybe they get some answers from from him or from their strength program that maybe he can put on about 10 pounds of muscle and not be quite as light and still have some of those playmaking instincts. Saints taking Michael Mayer makes sense. The Eagles grabbing Will McDonald. So the Eagles guys definitely drafting based on what Howie Roseman would probably do. I don't mind that. My comp for Will McDonald is Harold Landry. You see a little bit of Hassan Reddick in his game. He's not quite as fast as Reddick. He only ran in the 4.6s. So our guy, Hail Mary, just took Cody Mock. That is a little bit rich for me, Alex. Cody Mock with the 40th pick in the draft. For me, Mock is more of a third-round guy. I'm worried about his pass protection, his play strength. He's a great athlete. I see why the Titans would like him, so I wouldn't shred the pick. But yep, you guys, I traded the 33rd overall pick for Jerry Jeudy, straight up. Oh, there it is. I hate the Packers draft. I hate it. Billy, if you're listening, screw you, fam. This is pretty realistic for what Gutekunst would do, though. At least you didn't take Keon White in the first round, I'll say that. But yeah, to trade up for Darnell Wright, who I just actually put a tweet out that I think he's a little bit overrated. I think he's really good. Him in the end of the first round, I'm totally fine with. But at 13, that's rich, man. Steve Palazzolo had a really good spiel about this on the podcast, that he's not a sticky run defender. He leans, he plays off balance, he has highlight run blocks, and he has the size to do it, but his hand usage in the run he's not a great run blocker. I also don't love him for a wide zone scheme for Green Bay. You have tackles. I hate that pick. I would take Brian Branch, Jackson Smith, and Jigba's there. You got this pick to move up. You moved up for this pick with Aaron Rodgers. Like, what are you doing, Billy? And then Keon White, 3rd round grade. I hate it. You have not gotten a playmaker. You're really going to roll out this year with Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, and you're going to take a tackle that might not start year one. Like, is Darnell Wright going to come in and beat out Zach Tom? I don't think so. I hate, like, this is the predictive Brian Gutekunst draft that has me just horrified on draft night. So Billy just playing the role of Brian Gutekunst, I suppose, is realistic. All right, let's get back to some of these picks. Let's try and catch up so we can react live as these things start to come in. Brian Branch to the Ravens. I don't mind it. I think he would probably be a slot corner. Like, between him and Kyle Hamilton, you got two you're going to stick with the 3 safety thing that they did last year. I actually kind of like that. And between whatever matchup you feel like you got to run, Brian Branch and Hamilton are going to either rotate between strong safety and slot corner. So I think that's a good fit for the Ravens and great value that late. DeJuan Jones to the Steelers. Love it. This draft for the Steelers is absurd. You get Devon Witherspoon at 17 because an idiot like me is not paying attention and lets him past me at 12. And for some reason, didn't go before that. Okay, so the Packers with the all-defense draft. Look, I like Tre'Davious Martin to the Packers. I do. And I've made him a pick in the 2nd round before. But you're really not taking a playmaker, Billy? Is Brian Gutekunst himself in this draft? Incredible. Oh my God, the Steelers just got Mazzie Smith too. Dude, the Steelers are building a championship team right now. My God. What a pick. Mazzie's a 1st round guy for me. He would be I could just picture him as a Steeler, can't you? But we reacted to Anton Harrison earlier. The Cardinals taking John Michael Schmitz. Love it. You need a center. I think I've made this pick before in the past. I've got him as a 1st to a 2nd round guy. Why do I always struggle? Rodney Hudson. Rodney Hudson's gone. I think he retired, so that makes sense. Keely Ringo is a total Colts pick. I don't fully hate it. It's early for me, but we know how the Colts like to draft those athletes, so I could see it. And then Osiris Torrance to the Jets. I like that. After you get Jackson Smith and Jigba, you're reuniting the Ohio State wide receivers, and then you're addressing guard in the 2nd round. I think that's a good strategy. He moved up to get him too, so I like what Joe Douglas is doing in this mock draft. Drew Sanders to the Seahawks. It's fine. It'd be kind of a Seahawks pick. He'd get to kind of develop from Bobby Wagner, would be a really good fit. So wouldn't give you much of an impact right now, but I think the value is fine there in the 2nd round. Quentin Johnston to the Patriots this late. The Quentin Johnston hate, I just can't get behind. For the Patriots to walk out of this draft with Christian Gonzalez and Quentin Johnston, are you kidding me? Those are like 2 top 10 players in this draft for me. Quentin's not quite top 10, but he's like top 15. Really, really impressive draft for the Patriots there. Cam Smith to the Panthers. I made this myself in our latest 3-round mock. It makes sense. Reuniting them. Let's see, would he have played J.C. Horn? Chaser, thank you for the super chat. Also, Tanner, thank you for the super chat. I'll answer your question there, Chaser, in just a second. But yeah, Cam Smith, yeah, would have been there. He would have been a freshman when J.C. Horn was in his junior year, so they would have been teammates. But you're reuniting those guys in the secondary. I can get behind that at the 40th pick. That's about where Cam Smith is on my board. Campbell to the Bills, pretty self-explanatory. We already roasted Alex for the Cody Mock pick. Adebawore to the Rams. There's your Aaron Donald replacement, right? I don't know if there's room for two guys like that with Aaron Donald in there, but I can see why they would think that way, for sure. Chaser, I'm going to get to your question as soon as I can hopefully catch up with these picks. Keon White, we roasted the Packers for that horrible selection. Although in the second round, it's a little bit easier to swallow, but to not take like Dalton Kincaid is there, Billy, in the second round, and you're taking fucking Keon White. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, that pisses me off because it's probably going to happen. I hate Brian Gutekunst. Derek Hall to the Falcons. That makes sense. Second round grade on him. They need pass rusher. DJ Turner for the Lions. I like that. You get some speed at corner. Can develop them a little bit. I don't get the Felix Anudike-Uzomah pick for them. Yeah, Nathan, I welcome into the chat. I don't hate the pick. I really don't. You could put him on the opposite side of Donald and make it work. I really think you're getting a hell of a player there, so it's just fine. It's just a little bit interesting with a couple of undersized 3-techs. I have beef with Billy because he's drafting like Brian Gutekunst, and it's pissing me off. Dude, Billy, if you are trying to be realistic here, props to you because it's working. It is working. So if that's your objective here, good work. I mean, Brian Gutekunst having a horrible draft that makes no sense is completely on brand. All right, so we got B.J. Ojulari to the Raiders. Like that fit. Chandler Jones, not going to be there forever. Good value in the second round. Kincaid, dude, for the Commanders, let me just say, I think they got a first-round pick to move down. Dude, this is like a GM of the year type of move. I think they get a first-round pick to get in on next year's quarterback class. And you still get Kincaid at 16 because Brian Gutekunst's a fucking idiot? That's great. That is a great move for the Commanders because that's probably who you think about taking in the first round. So that's insane. Laporta to the Bucks is fine. The tight end room has definitely fallen off. Steve Avila to the Seahawks. Yep, interior O-line, could play center or guard for them. Josh Down to the Ravens, really fun pick. A little bit messy in the slot because Bateman plays in the slot, Duvernay plays in the slot, but he's a good playmaker. It's good value at the end of the second. Tuli Tuipulotu, who is a stylistic comp for me to Zadarius Smith. Don't mind the pick. It's a best player available selection for the Vikings there, so I can get behind that. Love Keanu Benton to the Bears. I think that's a very realistic target for them. And then the Lions take Hendon Hooker in the second round. This Lions draft is very fascinating. You've already done the bridge quarterback thing. You're doing that right now with Jared Goff. I couldn't disagree more with just extending your mediocre window. I can't get behind this Lions draft there, dose of Dion. I think you're happy you got Carter, but you're walking out of here with basically 4 top 50 picks with a 25-year-old backup quarterback, an edge player that I don't even think is going to start for them, and a corner in. I like the Turner pick. That one's fine, but it's a very underwhelming pick. Underwhelming draft. Bob taking Tyreek Stevenson. Love that pick. Giants could use a corner. And the Raiders took Zach Charbonnet. That's definitely rich for me. The main reason I really disagree with that is they just spent a third-round pick on a running back I really liked last year in Zamir White. So I would be very critical of that pick. The Raiders have way too many needs to be spending that high of a draft pick on a running back. So some of these picks I've been able to kind of shred. Um, all right. Gosh, I still want to answer your super chat. So Chaser, I'll answer it. Should the Eagles take Bijan at 10? So I have talked about this before, and I got to pay attention because I am coming up here pretty soon. But I think they should. I really do. My biggest selling point for Bijan Robinson, not only is he the highest graded player I've ever had since I've been doing this, he made, if I pull up his PFF profile here, I might be able to just give you a little peek at that here on the screen. Just give me a second. So, Bijan Robinson. Let's do this. Let's pull this up. And I don't know how well you can see. Yeah, you can see this, and I might get in trouble. I don't know if you're allowed to do this or not. But he had 257 carries, 104 missed tackles forced. And if you go by position, let me show you. So whoever Carson Steele is apparently a freaking monster. And Frank Gore Jr. out of Southern Miss. But these are a lower level of competition. Chase Brown is your next kind of Power 5 guy. He was 20 below that, but on almost 100 more carries. So Bijan is making almost every other carry. He is making somebody miss. That is insane. When he gets into the second level and the amount of runs that are going to be 6 or 7 yard runs for a guy like Miles Sanders, God knows how many of those are going to be 20-yard runs for Bijan because he's making that linebacker miss at maybe a rate that's twice what Miles Sanders had. So you're taking a scheme that gets the running back set up with those one-on-one opportunities better than anybody out there because of how good that run game is with the O-line and the threat of Jalen Hurts and the scheme. So you are going to set Bijan up with, I don't know, 10 times a game. He's going to have a one-on-one in the second level with a linebacker, and he's going to make that guy miss 6 out of 10 times. You could be really talking about a guy that gets you like a generational running game there. So, I think he could average 100 yards a carry on just 15 carries a game in that offense. So I think he actually helps their team win now more than even like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because if you take in Jigba, all you're doing is taking targets away from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Like, I don't know. That's my sales pitch. I don't know if Howie's going to do it. They did meet with him, but we are on the clock, you guys. Time to make a pick. 3rd round. We've loaded up at wide receiver. I don't really like, although Tippmann here in the 3rd round would be a really good pick. We got 29 seconds. We don't have a ton of time to make these picks. I'm between Trenton Simpson and Joe Tippmann. I'm going to go with the O-line. We're going to make sure. Actually, hold on. We are running a wide zone offense with the Shanahan scheme coming in. I like Tippmann more, but Luke Whippler was CJ Stroud's starting center. The gap is close enough that I'm going to take his college center. And it's a better scheme fit because he's a really smooth athlete for wide zone blocking. So we're continuing to build around CJ Stroud. We sent the 33rd pick to get Jerry Jeudy. So picture Jerry Jeudy in the middle here. We helped out that defense and are going to bring in kind of a last missing piece for this offensive line. If I pull this up, we love Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, 1st round pick last year in year 2. Expecting big things from him. Center's a mess. We got Shaq Mason at right guard, Titus Howard at right tackle. We're locked and loaded on the O-line. That's actually a pretty damn good unit. We got Jerry Jeudy, we got Nico Collins, we got Robert Woods, John Mechie in his rookie season, Amari Rodgers, Noah Brown. We got Dalton Schultz. We got Damian Pierce. We actually have a damn good team here with Bobby Slowick coming in to really put this thing together. And this is going to be a pretty good team for Texan standards. So I actually am happy with the CJ Stroud pick in hindsight. Tanner, yes, let me answer your super chat, my dude. Thank you. Is it crazy to say the Jags could be a 10-plus win team this year with Trevor in year 3 and Ridley coming back? No, I don't think you're crazy at all with the way they heated up offensively last year. I feel like the freaking Broncos, man, is just getting all of the offensive line pieces. I don't fully understand. I feel like they don't need. They got Cushenberry, they got Miners, they got Powers, they got McGlinchey. He has now taken a center and a tackle. Good players, kind of best player available picks, but I don't know how I feel about that for the Broncos. I feel like they've invested enough in free agency there. I do have another pick coming up here at 310, so I want to start thinking ahead a little bit. Trenton Simpson did go, so I might still be thinking about a linebacker. I'm trying to just see like kind of best player available. If there's anybody that I haven't been paying attention that's kind of fallen. Gervin Dexter is fascinating at this point. He really is. Sidney Brown. No, we don't need another safety here. I think I'm between corner and Gervin Dexter here. I think those are going to be my targets here. I feel like we can take a corner that is higher on my board. And just because I love you guys for joining for the live stream, I'm not going to do this much, but I'm going to expose the draft guide. So this is what you can get on Patreon, guys. I'm just going to show the cornerback room out of respect for my patrons. But we got Darius Rush with a 3rd-round grade, Corey Trice, Clark Phillips if we wanted to go the slot route. So the cornerback pick would probably be Darius Rush for me. It's a good spot. All right, we are up, you guys. I kind of like Gervin Dexter as a fit, though. We took if we can just, it's a little bit risky, but if we can just teach this guy how to get off the ball, he can be our Eric Armstead in this defense. He is such a freaky athlete. And with D'Amico there, I trust the defensive coaching. When it all clicks for Gervin Dexter, he looks like a first-round talent. He's young. He's 21 years old. He was a team captain. So there it is, Gervin Dexter. And then hopefully we can target a corner in the 4th. But we didn't finish answering your question, Tanner, about the Jags. I'm really curious to see how that defense comes together next year. Like, they really don't have a whole lot, like, especially if they could land Brian Branch in the 1st round, which we all know is like a dream, realistic landing spot there. But year 2 with the system, a bunch of players that were kind of all thrown together last year, but I feel like they all make sense together. Trayvon Walker in year 2, can he take a big step? Like, if the defense can become just average unit with that offense, there's no reason the Jags can't be like a 12-win Super Bowl contender. I love the way Ridley's going to fit in there. So, yeah. Also, Tanner asks, what is Hooker's dream landing spot? Seattle, IMO. I like Seattle as a landing spot for sure. I never get that excited about Hendon Hooker. To me, it's super similar with like Desmond Ridder last year when the Falcons took him. It's like, all right, like, yeah, he might be your starter for a few years, but I just have a really hard time seeing him becoming like a good starter in the NFL. Thank you, Sterling. Drafting circles around these guys. Let's catch back up with some of these picks. A lot have come by. The last one we reacted to was Tyreek Stevenson. The Cowboys took Jalen Hyatt, so they are adding some speed, man. With running back in the first round, taking Gibbs, and then Jalen Hyatt. It's not the worst spot. He can kind of learn how to be that slender, deep threat from Brandon Cooks for a year. Who did the Raiders take? Tucker Kraft, all right. So I don't hate that at the end of the second round for the Cowboys. Diane Henley, love that pick for the Rams. Excellent value, Nathan. Good pick. Nathan's making another pick here. He's going to be popping in the chat to see what we think. Ooh, Abonaconda to the Rams. I like it. And the Eagles, not wasting any time. But let's keep catching up. Foskey to the Bengals. That's a little rich for me, Goodberry. I feel like you have your kind of low upside edge guys already. I can't really get excited about Isaiah Foskey. I know he's a really good athlete, but he never tapped into that at Notre Dame. He's got some flashes of power. Maybe something can click at the next level, but I don't know. I see Foskey as kind of just a guy, late third, early fourth round guy. I think you could probably get, in my opinion, better players there. Cedric Tillman to the Bears, pick 230. It's good value. I see what you're thinking ahead a little bit. They don't really have that perimeter X guy, so he makes sense. Mingo to the Packers. I mean, he makes sense in their system. You trade up to get him. It's, Mingo in the second is at the end of the second is fine. Hate the Packers draft, Billy. Absolutely hate it. Marvin Mims to the Colts for Anthony Richardson. Luke Musgrave to the Chiefs. Broshmo is walking out of the first two rounds with Luke Musgrave to kind of sit and learn behind Kelsey for a couple years. And Nolan Smith. That's a great draft. Bears taking Julius Brents. Love it. They could really use another corner. It's maybe an underrated need for the Bears. Matthew Bergeron in the third round is a great pick for the Cardinals. I love what the Cardinals are doing here. Now, they took Tyree Wilson early. I hate that. I hate taking Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson, but I do still like Tyree Wilson, and you are putting a offensive line together now with Bergeron, who could be, I think he'd be a really good guard. I think he'd be a Pro Bowl guard and a decent tackle. So the Broncos, I talked about this pick a little bit. Like, they went two offensive linemen. I feel like they could use another offensive lineman, but to take it twice, I just don't know about that. You just traded Judy away. Are you thinking about a little bit more speed in that wide receiver room? Are you really counting on KJ Hamler to be that guy? I don't know. Trenton Simpson is a fine pick at that point. Makes a lot of sense there. Tyler Scott in the third. I don't get the Tyler Scott hype, guys. I really don't. And there's a lot of it. He's really slender. I think he's really underdeveloped as a route runner. Not great ball skills. I think he's fine, but I see Tyler Scott as more of a fourth or a fifth round guy than I do a trade up for him at the top of the third kind. Yaya Diaby, that's a little early, but I get it. It's a good spot for him with a year to develop behind all those guys in Tampa. Tank Dell to the Bills. Greg, good pick. I was sitting down there next to Greg. Greg, by the way, I got to shout out Cover One, the network, putting this whole thing together. And I was sitting next to Greg from Cover One down there at the Senior Bowl. We were watching Nathaniel Tank Dell carve dudes up down there. Alex took Rashee Rice right before us. Third round for Rashee Rice is a little early, but I've come around on Rice a little bit. And he does fit their system. So I don't think it's the worst thing ever. We took Dexter. Antonio Johnson to the Browns makes sense. Their safety room is in flux right now. It's good value in the third. Sidney Brown to the Falcons is interesting, actually. It's kind of, I don't know if I love that pick, just because I feel like he's very redundant with the UCF kid that they drafted who finally came on last year. So it's good value at this point, and I'm never going to complain too much about adding good defensive back players, but might have gone a different direction on that one. Yeah, Tucker Kraft to the Raiders is fine. Who's even the starting tight end for the Raiders right now? Hooper and O.J. Howard. Yeah, Kraft makes sense there. Thank you, Brandon. Richie Grant is the safety we were trying to think of. We got, Nathan, love the Abanikanda pick in the third round for the Rams. It just hasn't worked out with that running back room with Cam Akers. Hey, Bug, you and the grandson, Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. Appreciate you stopping by. Thank you for the super chat, my man. Darius Rush to the Eagles is a fantastic pick. He's got an opportunity to sit and develop. One thing I didn't know about Darius Rush until I took a second look at him recently, converted wide receiver like 3 years ago. And you can see it in his ball skills. So it makes sense why he's a little bit more raw at the position. But you see the growth year to year. You see how good he was at the Senior Bowl, and you can get really excited about that type of an athlete. 4.36 speed, who's come so far. Physical guy. Andre Carter for the Jags. It's an interesting pick. I don't know how that's a little early for me for Carter, but not too bad. Let's keep trying to catch up here. Marvin Mims to the Colts. Totally fine with that. Who did they take in the second? Keely Ringo. Anthony Richardson. That's a good draft. I want to get a little bit more juice in that wide receiver room. You got your big-bodied guys, but Mims would make a lot of sense there. You got inside-out flexibility between him and Pittman, who plays a lot from the slot as well. But Parker Washington, the Steelers, good slot guy. Fine with that pick. Steelers have had a great draft. Lions take A.T. Perry. I do like that pick in the third round for the Lions. That's kind of a... there are flashes of like... There's a little bit of DJ Chark stylist, like the frame. I can see a little bit DJ Chark there with A.T. Perry. I could see that being a pick and him being a good kind of vertical. He wins in other areas that Jameson Williams, Jameson's that true deep threat. So I think that would make a lot of sense with A.T. Perry to Detroit. So good job, Lions. You get a thumbs up from me. It hasn't been my favorite draft, but dose of Dion. I do like Siaki Ika for the Raiders. They need some beef, and getting him in the third is a no-brainer. Clark Phillips makes a ton of sense to the Seahawks with their zone-heavy defense. I think he's an automatic upgrade over Kobe Bryant in the slot, and Seahawks fans love Kobe Bryant. Look, man, he wasn't good last year. He gave up way too much in coverage. He's just a limited player. I think he's long-term probably better off moving to safety. Clark Phillips in the third round is a pretty easy upgrade there. Brenton Strange to the Dolphins. I think it's fine. He's a good blocker. That's kind of what they want. He's a different Penn State tight end than what they had in Gesicki. It's a little bit early, but I think it's fine. Fills a role for that offense that they really need. Zach Pickens is funny because I was on the Guilty as Charged podcast and we were comparing Zach Pickens to Javon Kinlaw, but Javon Kinlaw, taking a similar risk on Javon Kinlaw in the third round is a lot better than, or not Javon Kinlaw, Jerry Tillery, who ended up being Javon Kinlaw at the next level. But taking a gamble on that player at the end of the third round is totally fine. They need interior pass rush help bad. Blake Freeland, end of the third round. I get it. Athletic guy, fits their blocking scheme. I could see it. I'm really worried about his pass protection, but long term, you might get an upgrade there. Love this pick, Chargers. Love this pick, Dino. Chris Smith is a perfect fit for the Chargers. Ran a ton of quarters, hybrid safety stuff for Georgia. I think he'd be a day one starter for the Chargers. He'd be honestly fairly similar to what Adderley was for them. Andre Carter to the Jags is curious to me. So Carter's interesting because I'm all out. I need like some water or something. I'm gonna need a water break at some point. This stream is just too much. It's like information overload. I'm losing my voice. It's been fun, but it's been a lot. But did they not retain? Oh, okay. It makes a lot more sense. Arden Key. Where did Arden Key go? Where did Arden Key go? Yep, Adderley retired. I know. Tennessee Titans for Arden Key. Okay, so I get it. I understand the Carter pick a lot more than I was thinking. Arden Key was still there, so yeah, that could work. They obviously found a way to rotate those guys around, and he's an interesting kind of mismatch type with his quickness as a pass rusher. I'm just curious to see what he can kind of get his body to look like, because Mike Renner talked about this where he can't keep weight on at Army because he's got to go through all those like brutal conditioning programs and stuff and training. So keeping weight on is just hard, but can he do that in the NFL? I think he could. I like Jordan Battle of the Giants. I like J.L. Skinner. My pro comp for J.L. Skinner is Rayshon Jenkins. So Skinner coming off the injury, probably not going to compete right away, but could definitely replace Rayshon right away in season 2. Saints taking Devon Achane. God, the Saints have had such an interesting draft. We can actually filter it by what the Saints have done here. Not a like. I think Achane's fine at the end of the third round to put the speed in the building. Not a fan of trading a future first for Myles Murphy at all. And not a fan of Tyler Scott that early. I'm just a little bit lower on Tyler Scott. I get that. But the Saints have stood out as kind of a draft for me in this one. The craziness definitely settled down. The first round was like, what is going on? Tyjae Spears to the Bengals, Goodberry, great freaking pick, man. I think he could be a starter next year when you move on from Mixon. Byron Young to the Panthers makes so much sense with how they've draft speed, just swinging for the fences at edge. Could totally see that as a realistic third-round pick. So this is interesting. A couple of safeties have just come off the board that I think have been way overdrafted in this situation. So let me just fast forward. Jamie Robinson, I do like how he fits their system, the hybrid quarters defense coming in. But to me, he's a limited player. He's undersized. He's not the fastest guy. I do think if he's going to succeed, it's going to be in that system. And we're basically talking about a 4th-round pick. His play style is similar to what Budda Baker was coming out. So if it's gonna happen, I think this is fine. I don't hate Jamie Robinson. There was just a lot of people confused why he didn't make my top 17 safety video. I think he's going to be a limited player. But again, in those hybrid safety systems, you don't need to be an amazing athlete. So it could be an evaluation that I need to take a second look at for that system fit. Because, I give Brian Branch that benefit of the doubt. Jamie's not as smart as Branch, but can't rule it out. Luke Schoonmaker to the Dolphins. So he's going 2 tight ends, a little bit more 12 personnel. I could see it. I could see these guys kind of complementing each other well. You get a little bit more speed, a wing player in Schoonmaker. I don't hate it. They're good players. All right, we are up, you guys. So if I can get Dorian Williams, I'm going to do it. Dorian Williams or a corner would be my picks here. So Corey Trice, Cameron Mitchell, Terrell Smith. Yeah, I think I'm going to take. I'm not. Corey Trice is a good player, but I want him in like a cover 3 heavy system, and I don't think that's really what we're going to be here. So we're going to take linebacker Dorian Williams here, who in the 4th round is a fantastic pick. D'Amico's going to coach this guy up. He's my number 5 linebacker. I've got a 3rd round grade on Dorian Williams, so to get him in the 4th is obvious value. You got a couple of linebackers now that ran 4.40s. Can I interest you in that, Madden players, with Christian Harris and Dorian Williams? That's going to be a really fun group for D'Amico to coach. I love this freaking draft. I'm so happy we took CJ Stroud, you guys. Honestly. I really am. Because I like Van Ness quite a lot in this system. I think Van Ness can have it's very just reminiscent of the JJ Watt pick, right? Maybe that's lazy analysis, but the upside is so there. The scheme fit, what they're going to get out of him with all the stunts. This makes so much sense. Still here? Yeah, how are you? I was talking about I have my Madden draft going on tonight. Let me just check in on my league and make sure the pick's not going in. Okay, the draft just started, so let's keep catching up on these picks. We're almost caught up. But Jalen Duncan, you guys, I don't think he's any good. His play strength is about as bad as it gets. He's a 5th-year player. I don't know how much he's going to be able to beef up. He's a good athlete. I get it. Could surprise, but I just do not see him as a 3rd-round talent. I've got not going to spoil the rest of this board. I already spoiled the corners. I've got Jalen Duncan as a true day 3 grade. He's my OT 14, but I still have about 15 tackles to get through, so that's probably going to fall. Jaden Reed, there you go, Broncos. Dude, Jaden Reed this late. Hell yeah, man. That's the way you do it. You trade away Judy, you put in Jaden Reed, who I compared to Tyler Lockett, reunited with Russell Wilson there. Love that pick. TDC. Colts. Pick is in. Chandler Zavala, the People's Guard. But to keep catching up here, Zach Harrison, I really like this pick for the Browns at the end of the 3rd round. You're keeping him close to home. I think if nothing else, he's going to be a good rotational guy opposite of Myles Garrett. But you have some crazy wingspan on both edges with those 2 players. I like the Falcons adding some speed. That completes that kind of receiver room in a fun way. Tyler Steen to the Niners. I like it. They need some offensive line help. I like Tyler Steen. I don't know if he's a tackle. He might be a guard at the next level, but I'd fail him at tackle. Wanya Morris. I think I made a pick just like this I either did this in my Patreon 7-round mock, which, by the way, you guys, I am doing 7-round mock drafts really throughout the weekend. We've got 3 of them up right now on my Patreon. Patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. We've done the NFC North, the AFC Did we do the AFC East? No, we didn't do the AFC East. So I think I took Wanya Morris in the 3-round mock that we did on the channel earlier this week. But anyway, Jair Brown this early, I do disagree with that pick. I just think there are so many higher upside safeties in this class. He's a fine player. This is an interesting board we're looking at here. The safeties are way down. Like if I'm picking for the Niners there and I have to take a safety, and maybe he was gone, but like Daniel Scott out of California, I like Brandon Joseph better than Jair Brown. I also just think you can wait. Like I don't think it's a big enough need that you have to take him there. Caillou Blue-Kelly is fine for the Niners, keeping him close to home. Dwayne McBride to the Bears is a super good pick, Shane. Love it. Some of these picks, like you know who the TFG fans are. I think we got to. Oh no, never mind. That was from Bug, the super chat. All right, let's keep going. Kobe Turner in the 4th round, fine pick for the Cardinals. He might even start for them right away. Zach Kuntz to the Cowboys is fun. Dude, the athleticism of the Cowboys guy is like, I want speed across the board. He's like, this is like a Madden draft for him. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jalen Hyatt, Zach Kuntz. I don't even hate it. Yeah, we like these picks. Jeez, they're flying. Tank Bigsby, I don't get it with Tank Bigsby. Tank is my currently 12th out of 18 running backs. Got a late day 3 grade on him. Weakness in my notes: skinny lower half, struggles to generate power and push. The lighter guy. Really bad contact balance because he's not built down below. And he's extremely underdeveloped in the receiving game. He ran a 4.56, which isn't like spectacular speed. He's 6 foot 210. He's elusive. He's got good. Ooh, I like the Michael Wilson pick. Packers, you're winning me back. You're winning me back, Packers. You're coming around. You took 2 of my. So clearly, I will give Billy credit. He knows how the Packers draft. And unfortunately, he's doing this realistically. This is a complete and utter Packers draft. If you told me after draft weekend, this is how it played out, where I'm ridiculous. This is just like last year. I'm absurdly underwhelmed. Now, Darnell Wright would still be a better pick than Quay Walker last year. But, at least he's a mauler. But this is one of those things where, like, first 2 picks come off the board, and I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. But then you kind of bounce back. You take Mingo, Michael Wilson. It's a couple of my dudes in this draft. So you're winning me back, Billy, and I will give you credit. I hate that you're drafting like Brian Gutekunst because he's one of the worst general managers in the NFL. But if you're trying to go realistic with them, I get it. I get every single pick you've made. And if it played out that way where you can get Michael Wilson in the 4th round, I'm coming around on your draft to the point where I would dare say I even like it. Because Keon White in the 2nd round is like, it's a little early for me, but I get it. He's a freak athlete. The NFL seems to love him. I don't think that'd be the worst thing in the world. Now, you take Keon White in the 1st round, and I'm done. I'm just done with Gutekunst. I will take a firm stance that he is the worst general manager in the NFL if he takes Keon White. And I think a lot of you guys would agree with me on that, right? Like that would just be, you can see it happening, and it would just be an inexplicably horrendous decision to spend a 1st round pick on that player that pretty much everyone agrees is like, where the Packers took him in this draft is like the highest he should go based on upside. So we got Andrew Voorhees, Nathan. I love it. You're punting into next year. California guy. Falcons taking a Coyer or Ekior. I like Emil Ekior. I felt like he's a little bit underrated. He's just very steady. I could see him being a starter someday. Xavier Hutchinson. I'm just not a Xavier Hutchinson guy. I'm really not. He's my wide receiver. 24. I got a 4th to a 5th round grade on him, so I guess we are at that point in this draft. This draft is going so fast that I'm losing track of where we actually are. So I walk that back. Riley Moss of the Saints, good pick. Nick Herbig. I mean, he's another Josh Uche, basically. Eli Ricks, fine with that there. Both these guys right here, I liked watching both of these corners. They both ran slow, but a couple of guys who are declaring they're SEC starters, true juniors declaring. Both guys Ricks ran a 4.6 and Jones ran a 4.57, but they get the position. Both Ricks and Jalen Jones. And I will say good picking, you guys, because in these hybrid quarters heavy systems, you're playing a lot of off. You're leaning on anticipation and instincts. And Jalen Jones is a very Rams corner. I like that pick a lot. And for the Commanders, I think Eli Ricks as well could play that system well. So I like both those picks. Both those guys are fairly similar. I like Jalen Jones more because I think at least he's laterally quick. Eli Ricks is a little more stiff. But Noah Sewell, I'm just not a Noah Sewell guy. I put up the top 10 linebackers video, and everyone's like, where's Noah Sewell? Noah Sewell is my linebacker 12, but I've got a 5th to a 6th round grade on him. So you're taking him here in the, end of the 4th round. It's not the end of the world, but incredibly stiff. He's good at taking on block. Like I will say with Noah Sewell, he moved well. Like he had good zone IQ. He navigated to passing lanes pretty well in his zone drops, but he doesn't move well. He's stiff. So he's fine, but I don't see a starter in Noah Sewell. I really don't. So we got, let me just take a peek at my Madden draft. I don't want to miss my pick if I don't have to. Coming up. But Olusegun, how do you say it? It's just Oli Oluwatimi out of Michigan. He's okay. I wish he fired off the ball a little bit better. It was really underwhelming as a run blocker, and he was pretty stiff in pass protection, like picking up lateral pass rush moves and stuff. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this Raiders draft, Kepner picking there for Las Vegas. They took you got Skoronski. Okay, I do love that you got Joey Porter. You moved up to get him. Props to you for that. Did you give up Oh, you can. So they must have traded like. You know what I bet they did, and I would have to look into this. I bet they traded like a tackle to the Bucks. And I don't know how to find that out. But that would be my guess. Is that they traded their left tackle for a first round pick to get Joey Porter after you took Skoronski. I'm down with that. And I like the Ojala. I like what you're doing here. But I don't like the Charbonnet pick. And what do you... So you gave up a 3rd and a 5th to come up here. That's a good move. But I don't like trading that much up to take Charbonnet when you've got, you just took Zamir White last year. I disagree with that pick quite a lot. But Ika's a good pick. There's just a lot of picks here. It's not the worst draft in the world. But there's just been a couple picks that I kind of like, whatever. But let's get back to this here. Deuce Vaughn to the Chiefs. Broshmo. Okay. Deuce is fun as hell. Keeping him in Kansas. Why not at this point? Hey, there he is in the chat. Broshmo. Let's look at what our dude Broshmo's doing. Everybody make sure you give Broshmo a follow. Great fellow draft content creator. But let's look at his draft here for the Chiefs. I think he's been continuing Brett Veach's legacy here. Nolan Smith trade up in the first round. What I said about that, Broshmo, is as long as you get the coach's approval there, love it. Because they like their bigger bodied guys. But if Nolan Smith, if you're willing to make him an outlier on that defense, hell yeah. This one's self-explanatory. You get a speedy tight end of the second round to develop behind Kelsey. And then Deuce Vaughn, you can see it. You can see him being a really good complement to Pacheco. And with all the space he's going to have to operate in that offense, I think he could make it work. So we don't have a 5th round pick, by the way. Well, we don't. We have a late 5th. So we got Jacqueline Roy. Like this value at the end of the 4th round. Good run defender. Quick feet. He's not a pass rusher. He's not athletic, but he is quick to get off blocks. So I like Jacqueline Roy. Colby Woolen, developmental, kind of hybrid edge guy. He's a Ravens player all the way. Just never really put it all together at Baltimore, but better coaching could get that out of him. Corey Trice, at this point, for the Chargers, is a great pick. Trice is a fun player, man. You watch his highlights, you're like, that's Richard Sherman. But you know that in 99% of outcomes, he's not going to be Richard Sherman. But 6'3", got the dreads, really smooth athlete, great ball skills. It's like, you could see it. Richard Sherman was a 6th round pick or whatever. Roshan to the so 2 running backs to the Bengals. So he is like out on Joe Mixon. Goodberry is. If you're moving on from Joe Mixon, you can sign me up for a backfield of Tyjae Spears and Roshan Johnson. I am not going to complain about that. That is a really fun duo. That is basically your Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon backfield there in Cincinnati. Seriously. So I see what he's doing there. Really good, complementary skill sets there. Overshown in the 4th round. Overshown was another guy that didn't crack my top 10 linebackers list. He's actually my 16th linebacker. I got a day 3 grade on him, so I'm fine with him at this point. He's got the upside. It's just he doesn't really know what he's looking at against the run. Gap discipline was bad. His trigger was either way too late or way too early. Converted safety. He's a lanky guy. I also felt like he didn't tap into his speed in his sideline pursuit. I just left wanting so much more from him when a back got to the outside or they threw a ball to the flat. I was just like, all right, Overshown, let's see it. Let's see the 4.5, 6.40 on display. And I just was too consistently underwhelmed by his tape. So, he's your classic developmental mid-round linebacker. Jacorian Bennett gets to stick around in Baltimore. I love that pick. Love that pick as an upside 5th rounder. Underclassman, great athleticism. Sean Tucker to the Patriots. Patriots feel like they got to draft a running back every year. So Ricky Stromberg, good pick for the Panthers this late. He's getting a lot of hype. I'm not really matching the hype on Ricky Stromberg. I think he's fine. I've got him as a day 3 grade. Good player, but limited. So at this point, you're fine with that. So KJ Henry for the Bears, Shane, that's fine. Rotational guy. And he took Jose Ramirez. I actually haven't watched Jose Ramirez. I'm getting through a lot of these edge guys this week. I did find a player that I really like that I'll just take a second to talk about is Fehoko. Dude, everyone load up Vilami Fehoko highlights while I take a quick peek at my Madden draft. Oh, I'm on the clock. All right. Let me just do this real quick. Interesting. All right. Thank you for your patience there. But yeah, Fehoko, he is literally Cameron Thomas from last year's draft, who the Cardinals took. He's big and he's quicker than he should be at his size. Other than like quick feet, he doesn't really have an athletic bone in his body. But super productive dude. Had like over 100 pressures over his last couple years. Like 20 sacks. Got better every year. So good at working his way to the quarterback. Good run defender. As like a 4th or a 5th round pick, I really like Vilami Fehoko. I think, yeah, Nathan, you say I have him in the 3rd to a 4th round. I think that's totally fine. Like that, I think he's actually a better prospect than Cameron Thomas was last year, personally. So we got to start thinking about. Well, we're not on the clock for a little while yet. We're up at like 5:26. Kayshon Boutte. I like Boutte to the Vikings late. You got your Justin Jefferson mentor. From LSU, get his head on the right track. Sam asks, "What's my grade on Marte Mapu?" Check out my safety video that just dropped. Sam, there's even a timestamp in there for you. Ceiling floor on where Nolan Smith goes, I think it's a pretty wide range of outcomes. Like I think he could go as early as 10 to the Eagles. I think he could go bottom, end of the 1st round because he is a smaller guy. He didn't have crazy production in college, so I think he could be kind of anywhere 10 to 32. So we got some more picks to react to. It's going to be fun. We get to do this all over again, you guys, next weekend. Although this is like dress rehearsal, Friday night before the wedding. Let's practice our lineups, let's get through this quick and then let's go party. That's like what this is. Cramming all 7 rounds in. It's been fun though. Got almost, 500 concurrent viewers. It's been a good time. Getting me excited for the live stream next weekend. Be live for like 16 hours, baby. I do want to say that I have hit a little bit of a wall, to be honest, with the content. It's tough. I still have a lot of evaluations to do. So, I still haven't done an offensive line episode. I was going to do like a wide receiver rankings update. What I'm going to do, you guys, I am going to do a podcast version doing like my O-line rankings and recapping like where I'm at with the wide receiver ranks now, because stuff has changed since the combine and all that stuff. So seriously, if you are not following the Fully Inflated Football Show, I'm going to give you a link right here. I'm sure most of you are, but whether you're following it here on YouTube or the podcast version, that's where it's going to be. And I might just do audio only, you guys. I am just especially over like the last 24 hours. I think I've gotten a little bit of a cold too, and it's just like I am maxing out as far as how much. I think I've worked probably. It's been a couple days off and like maybe 2 days off in there, but I've probably worked 19 out of 21 days, about 14 hours a day since April 1st. So I'm running out of juice. So I think I'm just going to do a casual audio only podcast for those that really want the wide receiver grade updates. I'll probably talk about like 20 receivers, and I'll talk about the first couple tiers of offensive linemen. And then we're not going to do position ranks for the other stuff. Connor asks, what are best fits for Servacia Dennis? He says, linebackers are mostly, as long as you're a starting caliber guy, like you're a scheme independent player for the most part. So, I mean, really, to me, it's you can plug in really anywhere. I have been putting them to Pittsburgh a lot. I think the Giants, he'd be a good fit. Just a couple teams that seem like they need linebackers. And even as far as this stream is concerned, it's really slowed down. I'm not sure. If I'm going to get through all of these picks now that it's like slowed down. Could have used a little bit of this slow pace earlier. But we'll keep going strong. But if this is shaping up to be another, hour and a half long deal here, I don't know. We got a Wild game on, a Timberwolves playoff game on tonight. All my buddies are out hitting the town tonight, so I might dip here in the 5th round. But we'll see. I do have 3. Maybe let's get through this right here to 626, and then I might dip out for the 7th round, you guys. I might. But we can get through these picks right here. We are coming up soon. Ski Mask, I haven't done Tavius. He's the edge guy, right? Tavius Robinson? Yeah, he's actually next on my list to watch, believe it or not. So I haven't watched him quite yet. I've got 31 edge guys done, and I still have another 15 in that position group to get through. Jose Ramirez, Akene Enechukwu, Caleb Murphy, Tavius Robinson. Those are all some guys that I haven't done quite yet. Good to know, Ski Mask Samson. Good to know. Yeah, I've been looking for some of these day 3 edge guys to like catch my eye. I talked earlier about Vahoko. Caught my eye. You know, I like Dylan Horton a lot out of TCU. Bruin, thanks for the super chat. We had a whole spiel on CJ Stroud's cognitive test thing earlier. I would suggest you can go back and find that. It's probably at about the 20-minute mark. Is about when we talked about it. I would say, like, yes, I'm on alert. I'm concerned about it, but it's too new and too small of a sample size to put too much weight into it. So like it hasn't changed my CJ Stroud grade or anything, but I think concerned is a proper word for it, or at least on alert. Yeah, Garrett. Brett has honestly kind of scared me off of using highlights for the rest of draft season, unfortunately. I don't think it's worth it, you guys. The frickin' NCAA is coming after some content creators, and I haven't popped up on their radar yet, and I'm probably next after Brett. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to use college footage again for the rest of this draft season, and hopefully that wave passes into next year. But there's nothing I can do about it. It's not like other people are using it. You know, it's not really my fault that it's such a stupid system. Okay, so we're coming up. I want to get a corner. I want to get like a developmental corner that D'Amico can work with. Cam Mitchell is a really good player at this point. Like I'm glad we didn't take a corner earlier because we might be able to get a couple of these guys. Cam Mitchell, Terrell Smith, Star Thomas. You guys know you might not know yet, but that is one of my dudes. Okay, we're up, you guys. If I can bring back the cornerback board because I spoiled this earlier, but Mitchell would be a fit for an off-man system. We're going to kind of do that with D'Amico. And then we got Carrington Valentine's another one. Honestly, if I could get both those guys, I'm pretty happy. I think I can wait on Valentine. Let's take Cameron Mitchell out of Northwestern. Really quick dude, smart kid. He's like I don't even want to say he's a poor man's Greg Newsome. Like, he's obviously not Greg Newsome, but if you remember how quick Greg Newsome was kind of playing that system at Northwestern, really quick trigger, good reaction time, good zone awareness. He's going to fit our system here in Houston. Ironically, I thought a lot about Terrence Mitchell, and never mind. I always got Terrence Mitchell and Steven Nelson a little bit confused, but I could see him eventually being a Steven Nelson replacement. And then if we can get Carrington Valentine late, I shouldn't be saying that because there's people watching this that are probably going to snipe our pick. But he would be a target because we've got, you got Desmond King, Steven Nelson, Jimmy Ward. These guys are holding down the fort for now, but we need to get some young defensive backs that can learn this system now so that they can step in later. The offense is honestly filled out. You could think about some more O-line depth, but I just, I haven't gotten through all of the O-linemen yet, but I just don't see a whole lot of guys that get me overexcited late in this O-line class. I'm sure there will be some guys that emerge for me, but I'm going to focus on the secondary. So we'll probably end up taking a corner and a safety with one of these picks coming up. Sam, I actually would. I think we're good. I don't know if you were around. We took we got Jerry Jeudy for the 33rd overall pick. There you go, Broncos. Fehoko. He's also, we were talking him up earlier. We were having some fun talking about him. And he's Vita Vea's cousin as well, which is pretty sweet. What grade would I give Bijan at 8? I'd give it like a B. You know, or would I get more excited about it when it actually happens? I do like it. And you guys know I'm a little bit tighter on my grading scales. I'm actually going to have different names for my draft grades this year. It's going to be like, I don't know how exactly I'll do it. I'll probably do like elite pick, love it, like it, have questions, and hate it is probably how I'll do it instead of like A, B, C, D. It's too bad they can't put these on like autopilot. But yeah, I'm gonna stick it out till we can get to these 3 picks, and then I'm gonna go head down to St. Paul, go watch some sports. #sports. I think Jake Haener is still on the board. I suppose we should react to some of these picks instead of just sitting here, huh? So okay, there's a big wave of picks. Let's just try and find some that stand out to me as really good picks or really bad picks. Can really go back. We can go back. Let's go back to here. So Travis Tomlinson. It's just Trey Tomlinson. I'm not a fan, man. I'm really not a fan. 5'7.5", one of the grabbiest corners you'll ever see. If he's not LaDainian Tomlinson's cousin, I don't think he's remotely draftable. So, I mean, I was impressed that he ran in the 4.4s, but I was not a fan of that. I do like Kytrell Clark out of Louisville. We said we liked this pick. Josh Wiley's a towering tight end. It's a fine pick. Avon Pace to the Titans. So I would imagine that Alex Barbois, I'm just gonna say it like that, Alex, because it's too much fun. I'm sure it's Barber. But Hail Mary Sports, another great YouTube channel, by the way. Everyone go check out Hail Mary Sports out there. But I wonder if he saw my Jayon Brown comp. I'll have to ask him. I'll shoot him a DM right now. I'll say, did you see my Jayon Brown comp? Because that makes too much sense. Should have. Hold on. We'll see what he says. I'm underrating Trey Tomlinson. Maybe. But I don't know, man. I really was not impressed. I thought he was over aggressive, overly grabby. Wait, didn't Raheem Jarrett already go? I thought Raheem Jarrett went to the Ravens. The heck? Does this have a glitch in the system? Oh, it was Jacorian Bennett. I got duped by the other Ravens. Bennett makes a ton of sense to the Ravens too, but you know what might be a more reasonable way to do this? Let's look at these teams. Let's look at let's give a grade. Let's do this. Let's give grades out. So the Cardinals hate Tyree Wilson over Will Anderson. Like the O-line picks, a little bit early for Jammy. I'll give you a C+. Not a huge fan. Falcons, Bijan, super fun. Love the Derek Hall pick. Don't fully see how Sidney Brown fits with that team with, an early third-round pick. I think Trey Palmer makes sense. And I like Acura. It's a good draft. I think that's a solid, good grade, B+, somewhere in there. Ravens, Branch, love it. Downs, love it. I talked about this earlier, but you're really able to flex between Hamilton, Kyle Hamilton and Brian Branch, depending on matchups. One's going to be the slot corner one week, one's going to be the strong safety the next week, or they'll rotate within the game. I haven't watched Seedy So out of Eastern Michigan, so I'm not going to grade that. I'm not much of a believer in Colby Wooden, but he makes sense with the Ravens. Bennett makes sense. So I like the draft. Another probably B+ for the Ravens. Bills, Greg. Very Bills draft. Yeah, these are pretty normal picks. Love the picks. I think you're very happy with this draft if you're a Bills fan. Calling that like an A. I really like Brzee in the first round. I think that's a fantastic pick. Gives them a little bit of some more size and something they don't necessarily have. Okay, Carolina. Sad you took Bryce from me, but good pick. A little bit interested in the double defense, but I get the Byron Young pick. I really do. I would prefer to get another playmaker in with one of these two picks, but hard to complain with this draft. I'll give you an A because you're walking out of here with Bryce Young with some very small critiques. Yeah. I save my A+ for drafts that I get that I think is perfect, super fired up about. Okay, Bears. Good job, Shane. This is a I watch TFG's channel draft right here. I've made this pick a million times. I've made this pick a million times. I like Tillman. He makes a ton of sense there. Plan for the future a little bit because you're probably going to lose either Mooney or Claypool. Brent's makes sense. Dwayne McBride in the 4th. Mapu in the 5th is great value. So great pick for Da Bears. I'd give that an A. Good job, Shane. We do got to keep an eye on our pick is coming up here, but Goodberry picking for the Bengals. Now I think he's trying to keep this realistic for what they might do. I'm fine with Forbes here. I'm just fascinated by it. I just don't see him being a good press man corner, and I know Lou Anarumo wants to be able to do that. So I'm just very curious about it. As far as need and value, it's fine. I'm just a little bit concerned about the scheme fit, but I know the Bengals are in on Forbes, so I get why he went that route. I'm just a little bit confused by that. I don't like this pick. I really don't. I think Foskey's fine. I don't think he plays up to his athletic testing. I don't think he's ever going to be a great starter. Could be wrong. Could very much be wrong, but I like the two running backs. If you're going to move off of Joe Mixon, you get a little bit of athleticism in the tight end room. So I'd give us a good B for the Bengals. Good work. Browns, bunch of mid-round picks, not going to be overly critical, but I like the Johnson pick, like the Harrison pick. I'm not a Tank Bigsby guy, but Overshown makes sense. It's a good draft for the Browns based on what they have to work with. Let's before we do the Cowboys, which is a fun draft, let's think a little bit about my pick. I'm gonna continue looking at defensive back. I do like Dylan Horton as a value this late. Keep him around the general Houston area. Horton, to me, I have a 4th-round grade. He's my highest graded edge player. He's really good at stunts, which is a theme with this group. But if we look at the Texans, we still got Grenard. We brought in Chase Winovich. We drafted Van Ness. We still got Jerry Hughes. It's a pretty solid edge group. Interior, we drafted Dexter. We got Sheldon Rankins, Malik Collins. Lopez is decent. I'm actually, Thomas Booker in year 2, good athlete. I think we're okay to actually leave this group unless you fall in love with a guy late that's really falling. Like, looking at my interior D-line board, like if like Kobe Turner's here, he would make sense, but we should probably make sure we're not missing our pick. So yeah, I'm going to think about someone in the secondary here. And the guy I was going to target is Carrington Valentine. True junior coming out, good measurables. Just very raw. But I like D'Amico Ryans getting their hands on him. 6th-round pick for a true junior out of the SEC that likes to hit and run, likes to run and hit is probably the correct order to say that in today's climate. But I like what we've done with this cornerback room because we took earlier Cameron Mitchell, Carrington Valentine. So to put that in perspective, I have a true 3rd-round grade on Cameron Mitchell. We got him in the 4th. And I have a 4th to a 5th-round grade on Carrington Valentine. Or wait, we got Cam Mitchell in the 5th round. So you're getting two rounds of value there. And then 2 rounds of value on Valentine where I have a 4th to a 5th-round grade on him. So love stealing those guys. And then I'm going to look at a safety as well to kind of get groomed behind Jimmy Ward for the next couple of years. We're going to look for a high upside safety. And then after that, we're in pretty good shape. But let's keep grading out these drafts. So Dallas, all speed. I think it's a little overkill, but I get what you're going with. Just try and, juice up this offense. Give Dak everything he needs. It's kind of hard to argue with. I think it's fine. I give it a B. For me, I really like the way Mazzie Smith could complete that defense. I'd be a little bit worried about the depth on that defense with the interior D-line, the secondary not really getting addressed here. I'd be a little bit worried about some injuries setting that unit back. Denver had an interesting draft, so they traded me Jerry Jeudy for this pick. You got to keep that in mind. I disagree with the Broncos taking both Anton Harrison and Joe Tippmann. They already signed a tackle and a guard in free agency. You still have Cushenberry. You have Quinn Miners. I actually feel like they think that offensive line is complete. Now, I'm never against drafting on linemen, but you give up Jerry Jeudy for a guy that's not going to start at tackle for you, I would really disagree with that for the Broncos. Trenton Simpson's fine. Jaden Reed's fine. I like these picks later. And I think Tippmann makes sense because it gives you center guard flexibility, but I definitely would have gone a different route than Anton Harrison with that Jerry Jeudy pick. So for that reason, I would actually be pretty critical of this. I would probably give this like a C-, because even like a D+, because I do not like that move for Denver, and I don't think Broncos fans will be all that happy about it. Lions are up, who are about to make another pick. Hate this draft. Absolutely hate what you did with these picks right here. I think this is a huge reach. I don't even think he's going to start for you. Like, is Felix Anudike-Uzomah going to be an upgrade? I don't know if he's going to be an upgrade as a pass rusher over James Houston. I don't think he's better than Charles Harris right now. He could be someday. I don't think he's better than, he's in this mix with I just don't get that pick one bit. DJ Turner is a fine pick, but then Hendon Hooker, like, you're going to stay in purgatory? Why? You already have your purgatory QB. I would give this probably a D for Detroit. Green Bay. We've kind of roasted Billy in this stream. To be fair, if you're drafting what Brian Gutekunst would do, this is it right here. No receivers early. Take Mingo. This is a very realistic Packers draft. It would be better than the 2020 draft, better than the 2021 draft. Very similar to how I felt about the 2022 draft, where it's like the first couple picks, absolutely freaking hate. I don't think the Packers need a tackle. I think that's one of the more dramatically overstated needs out there. I think Zach Tom can play. This idea that David Bakhtiari's done is ridiculous. And you also have what's his I can't think of his name right now. Nishman. Like, you just don't need a tackle. You included that in probably the Aaron Rodgers trade. I hate it. Jackson Smith and Jigba was on the board. Now, Keon White in the second, I could live with it. Got a third-round grade on Keon White. I see the upside. Like, as long as you don't take him in the first round, I can survive with this pick. It's not my favorite. But Jatavis Martin, do love that pick. And then Mingo and Wilson, like, I can get behind that, but I just disagree with Darnell right there. If you're looking at Paris Johnson or Peter Skoronski, sure. Because those guys are just higher. Those guys are tier 1 in this class. Wright's part of tier 2, in my opinion. It's also just early to take Darnell Wright, in my humble opinion. We are coming up on the board, and I said I wanted to take a safety, so let's do that. We're looking for some upside here. Jordan Howden is in play. Jason Taylor is absolutely in play. I will ask this, is Daniel Scott, where does a site like this have Daniel Scott? He must have been drafted already, I suppose. But I think I will take my highest graded safety available, which is going to be, honestly, Jay Ward is not a bad sort of, I think it's Jay Ward. Jay Ward is your sort of Jimmy Ward understudy, not just Ward to Ward, but like the converted slot corner, loves to come up and hit. He'll play special teams for us right away. So we're going to go Ward to be our Ward understudy. And then we get one more pick, and we're going to be done. Although the people probably want me to finish. We can whip through quick draft grades, and then maybe we can stick out the rest of the draft. But let's make this pick. I think we've done good work with the defense. I'm thinking either line or even tight end. I don't see any tight ends that interest me at this point. This was a tight end heavy draft. Even like Cam Latu just went. So we're not going to take a tight end. We'll just punt that. What about a running back, though? Because, we love Dameon Pierce, but Can we steal some value here late? I mean, I do this. The Patreon gang knows how I feel about drafting Mo Ibrahim. Hopefully, between him and Dameon Pierce, you can just get 17 games because they're very similar players. That rolling bowling ball of needles. So let's grade out the rest of these real quick. Obviously, the Houston Texans get an A+. We have restored the Texans to greatness. But the Colts, I think it's a fine draft for them. A couple of mid-round interior linemen that we like. I think Terrell Smith in the 5th round is great value. Raheem Jarrett, you're taking some, this is a Colts draft through and through. Even Mike Morris at the end of the 5th round, he's a big-bodied end that would really make sense for them. It's a little bit early for me for Keely Ringo, for sure. I'd be curious if they view him as a safety that high. But obviously you get Anthony Richardson. I think this is probably an A draft for the Colts. I think they, maybe an A- because I think it's a little bit early for Ringo, but I get where they're going with that. He's a scheme fit for Gus Bradley's defense, so I can't really fault them for it. And I like getting Richardson at 4, so I'll go A for the Colts. Good job. Jags. I'm just looking at my initial opinion on this is I'm underwhelmed. I don't mind Darnell in the 1st. It's just I just don't know that Darnell is going to be this crazy playmaker. He just doesn't. I know he tested well, but he doesn't look like this insane mover. I get where you're going with that. I don't hate it. Carter's going to kind of be groomed there. It's a draft for the future for sure because you're not getting anything from Skinner in year 1, most likely. But I did compare him to Rayshon Jenkins, so I see what you're doing there. Andre Carter, he's just not ready to play now. Darnell Washington's going to be a backup tight end and a inline tight end starter. I don't know, my initial gut reaction to that, and I'm not a Trey Tomlinson guy. I'm just not. So my initial reaction to that is a C-. I'm just not super excited about this draft. It's fine. C+ maybe. It just doesn't really get me stoked. We looked at Brochemo earlier. Dude, you're killing it. You're absolutely killing it. Josephus makes so much sense as a deep threat. He's not unlike Marquez Valdez-Scantling as a prospect. And then Carter Warren's a good player, Brochemo. You watched him, I'm sure. 6th round for him. He's too good of a tackle to go that late. I've got a 4th to a 5th on Carter Warren. So great pick. Brochemo gets an A from us. Shout out Brochemo. Chargers, Dino. I love it. I really do. I love this. I love Zay in the 1st. Good value on Pickens at this point. High upside tackle there, Zach Pickens. He's caught my eye the more I watch of him. Chris Smith, home run pick. One of the best 3rd round picks as far as filling that safety need with a day 1 starter. Corey Trice, great value in the 4th round. And Jordan McFadden. This is freaking I don't need to look it up. The Jamari Sawyer pick all over again. So A draft for Los Chargers. Los Rams, Nathan. Best player available, as you said in the chat, which I understand. I'm a little bit curious how he's going to fit with Aaron Donald because I don't know if you can play 280-pound defensive tackles, So it gets a little bit complicated. But as a mentor, as a long-term filler in that system, I get it. You get Diane Henley at the end of the 2nd, Abanaconda, Voorhees, Jalen Jones, you took Daniel Scott, Nathan. There he is. Yep, Nathan, great work. You're catering to what I like in this draft. Great draft for the Rams. Daniel Scott there's a great 6th round pick. Keeping him home. Raiders, we've already kind of looked at this one earlier. I like Tanner McKee in the 5th round for them. My goodness, I love that. Charlie Jones, Toa in the end of the 4th is fine. it's a lot of picks for the Raiders. I like what they did early. I think what we saw was some kind of I don't know who they ended up trading. I'm only speculating that they maybe traded away their left tackle, who I can never think of his damn name for some reason, but a really good player. So I don't know how I feel about giving up that left tackle, but it's a solid draft. But I would have to be very critical of this move, trading up to get a running back that is basically an identical grade to what I had on Zamir White last year. I really disagree with that decision. So I'd probably give this like a C- or a C, depending on what this trade was that helped you get that extra first. Dolphins, not a whole lot of picks to react to. These all make sense. You got a tight end duo, a blocker, an athlete, developmental tackle. You're doing what you can with what you got. Jaron Hall makes sense. Scheme fit. So with what you have, it's a good B draft. Now what? They must have traded for somebody, because they normally have a second round pick. They must have. Oh, they moved down for 2/3. I actually don't love that. You got a top 50 pick. You got a chance to get a impact player. And you move down for a couple guys that I think you partially overdrafted. So I actually would not like that for the Dolphins. I think Freeland's a little bit overhyped on the 40 time. Schoonmaker's fine, but he's 25. I think that pick's fine. But yeah, I would rather have seen you get more offensive line help now. It's not the worst draft in the world, but wouldn't be what I would do. Minnesota. Yeah, man, sign me up. Great picks, Spence. Nailed it. Banks, slam dunk. Tooley in the second. Booty, McIntosh. Yep. Sign me up, man. A draft for the Vikes. This draft's pretty insane for the Patriots. This alone is like mic drop. Bill Belichick. That's pretty insane, dude. Christian Gonzalez, Quentin Johnston. I like Wanya Morris that late. Nick Herbig is feels like a Patriot, right? That hybrid Wisconsin linebacker. Mafi can get coached up. Star Thomas in the 6th. Like, yeah, dude. Freaking nailed it, Boston. Good work. Saints, really interesting draft. I hate this. And we did. They gave a 4th and a 1st next year to move up for Myles Murphy. No. No, 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 no. You're not Myles Murphy away here. And Myles Murphy is not even worth the 16th pick, in my opinion. If he falls, I can't even say fall. To me, it's like he belongs in the 25 to 30-ish range. If he's there, take him. It's fine. But you're giving up a first-round pick next year? Like, have you not learned? Marcus Davenport, mistake. Like, freaking moving up for what's his name from UNI last year. Mistake. Can we learn from those mistakes? You got away with it for a while, but the roster is completely depleted of talent. You cannot do this. Michael Mayer's fine. I think Tyler Scott's overdrafted here. I just don't fully get the Tyler Scott hype personally. I've got Scott as I have him a 4th round grade, but I think much better receivers were passed on to make that pick. And you kind of have, you've already got Olave, you got Shaheed. I don't really get how Tyler Scott fits in there. I'd rather take Michael Wilson to be your long-term. Okay, we're going to be able to finish this draft, you guys. We can do it. I'd rather take Michael Wilson to be your long-term Michael Thomas replacement. I do like the A-Chain pick, Moss pick, Ford Wheaton pick, DTR late, love it. It's an up and down draft, but I gotta give this one a D for this move right here, man. This is horrible. I get, like, if you're trying to be realistic and say the Saints are going to do this, that's fine. I understand why you do it because they are so aggressive on draft day. But if they did this, that's horrible. That is horrible. Giants, I feel like I've liked most of their picks. Oh, what happened? Okay. Thank you for the super chat, Spencer. Is that you who made those picks? Also, Grim, thank you for the super chat. Sorry I missed it. Spencer, are you Spence who made those picks we liked? DTR will be a day 2 pick. I disagree. I do. I'll be cheering for him. But have you watched the man try to throw a deep ball? We do have a pick coming up, but we got time to react to the Giants here. Cansey, Stevenson battle. Sign me up. You got impact defensive players. I think you can afford to ignore receiver this year with all the moves they made in free agency and bringing guys back. You're not Spencer from the draft. Sorry, I just assumed. But thank you so much for the super chat. Cheers from Vancouver. But I even like Papo in the 5th round as a developmental pick. That to me is where Owen Papo should go, not 3rd, 4th round. So A draft for the Giants. You know I love getting Tyreek Stevenson at the end of the 2nd round. I think he's a day 1 starter for them, and probably their best corner, right? They still have Adoree Jackson. Yeah, they still got Adoree. So Adoree might be better, but him and Stevenson's a good duo. And you got a couple. Okay, we're up. Couple corners that can run press man. Okay, so we have gone a lot of defensive backs. I do like Ventrell Miller. What about he's gone. I was going to say Servasia Dennis. Yeah, I mean, Anthony Bradford, some interior offensive line depth. This guy's a bruiser. We've got a couple guys like that already. I think that's the pick right there. And then my question is, do we have room for another wide receiver? Because I like the depth in this wide receiver class. I can usually find a guy that I've got a mid-round grade on pretty late in the draft. So Woods is going to make it. Nico's going to make it. Mechie's going to make it. We've got Jerry Jeudy in the building, so that's 4. Noah Brown, Amari Rodgers, decent receivers, but I think you could bring another guy in here as a 7th guy. You could either keep 7 or you could cut one of those veterans or cut your 7th round pick. We see it all the time. So that's going to be where I go when we get on the clock at the end here. I can't believe we made it all the way through this. I do want to remind you guys to come back next weekend for the live draft, the real draft. Okay, the Jets. So you can only imagine this was the Aaron Rodgers trade, pick swap, and the 2nd round pick. I like this combination, man. I usually go O-line in the 1st, but moving up for Osiris Torrance is a good move. You ready? That offense is ready to go. We know the defense. This is an all-in draft, man. You got Couple needs filled. Slot wide receiver filled. Guard filled. I don't love how Osiris Torrance fits the scheme, but I think he'll be just fine. Mekhi Gardner, good player, just not a great athlete. Did he trade up for him? He did. I don't know if I would trade up for Mekhi Gardner. But Byron Young that late is very good value. Could probably honestly replace Sheldon Rankins and what he did for you. Something close to it. We got Eagles. Yeah, dude. Great draft. I've compared Chase Brown to Miles Sanders. I am losing my voice, you guys. We are getting to the end of this thing. I've compared Chase Brown to Miles Sanders. You know I love that fit. I haven't finished Broderick Martin yet, but 5th round, whatever. Defensive tackle. I think Coleman likes Broderick Martin. But I love these 2 picks right here, dude. I really do. God, these picks are whipping it in here. 2 guys that could be potential starters down the road. I've got, 3rd round grades, really kind of on the dot. I think I got a 3 to a 4 on Garrett Williams and a 3rd round on Darius Rush. So I love where those guys landed. Good scheme fits. Rush is going to have to learn zone coverage in that defense, but he doesn't have to play right away. He's only been playing the position for a few years. So I like that. Will McDonald. I'm not quite all aboard Will McDonald in the 1st round, but it's basically a 2nd round pick. It makes sense. I probably wouldn't make that pick myself. I'm not crazy about it, but you can see why they would do that. And then I like Broderick Jones at 10 for them. I wish it was Paris Johnson, but he was gone. And I think them taking a tackle at 10 really does make sense. I've done it very consistently based on what they like to do, what makes sense for them. The guy can play right guard right away, and then you have a long-term tackle. Steelers freaking an unbelievable Steelers draft. This is like the that would never happen draft for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Devon Witherspoon at 17. DeJuan Jones at the top of the 2nd round. Great pick. And then Mazi Smith. I don't even care what happened after that. The rest of these picks are fine. A little bit early for me for Noah Sewell, but not going to destroy it. I think there's better linebackers that you can get there. Guys like Ventrell Miller is still on the board, who in my opinion is a better player. Actually, it looks like Ventrell Miller has just gone recently, but you've got Servasia Dennis right there in your backyard. I can't justify taking Noah Sewell over Servasia Dennis, but I like the rest of these picks. Seahawks. Yup. Yup, Vinny. Awesome draft, dude. Really from start to finish. Love it. You can get Anderson. Jordan Addison is fine with me at 20 for them. Addison to the Seahawks is like one of the few teams I really could see making sense just because of how much success they've had with undersized receivers. Drew Sanders, yep, learned from Bobby Wagner for a year. Steve Avila, yep, probably starting at guard or center for you. Clark Phillips, yep, probably starting as a 3rd round pick, probably going to overtake Kobe Bryant. Love Jacqueline Roy plugging in as a run defender. DeMarco Hellam's a fun special teamer and a playmaker late. And I even like the Stetson Bennett pick. Something happens to Geno, you can run your system just fine. Got a couple more to react to here. The Niners, obviously not a lot of picks. Personally, a little bit early for me on Jair Brown. The rest of these picks add up. And then we got the Bucks, who traded. They made a big trade. This had to be getting a tackle because they didn't draft a tackle. We know it's a huge need. So I think they're getting, what is his freaking name, chat? You will not believe how many times I forget Colton Miller. It's like the most forgettable name out there. We got Mr. Irrelevant, by the way, you guys. We gotta start thinking about who we want Mr. Irrelevant to be. But yeah, so you get Colton Miller. I'm just gonna assume that that's what this trade was. Laporte is fine. A little bit early for Diaby. I mean, I like getting Colton Miller out of this. But there's really not. I like Sam Laporta. I think he'd be a starting tight end for them. But there's really not a ton of excitement after that. So I don't know. Probably like a B minus. It's fine. Titans. This is Alex of Hail Mary. We've been on his channel before. Like the Levis. I mean, getting Levis at 18, that's like an A+ pick for me. A little bit early for Mock. A little bit early for Rice. Can live with it. They're good scheme fits, so I get where you're going with that. Avon Pace. I compared him to Jayon Brown, so that would be like an A+ fit. Makes a ton of sense. Cam Jones, a fun player in the 7th round. That's a good pick. A couple good dart. Those are a couple. I think Cam Jones is my 11th linebacker. Yeah, Cam Jones is my 11th linebacker, so he just missed the cut for the top 10 linebackers. So I like that. And then one more. Washington gets, I think, the best grade out of this draft. Because they traded down. They got the Saints' 1st round and 4th round picks next year. They just get out of this garbage draft. They're like, we're going to take a year, new ownership, figure out what the hell we're doing at quarterback. We're going to get the Saints' 1st round pick, which who knows where they're going to be. And you still get Dalton Kincaid in the 2nd round? Dude, drop the fucking mic. Low Buffa. That's insane. I don't get terribly excited about the rest of these picks. I think Eli Ricks in the 4th round makes sense. Anthony Johnson's a good safety pick late. I haven't watched Baldonado yet. Duncan to me is a day, mid to late day 3 guy. I think that's a reach. I just don't like Jalen Duncan as a prospect, but still an A+ because this is just absurd that you pulled that off. So there we went through all of them, and we're at the end of the draft. This has been an incredible stream, you guys. So obviously we're wrapping up. We got to start thinking about who we want to make Mr. Irrelevant. But I might make it someone fun just because we got 32 people in here. Let's get the people talking. But yeah, a ton of fun, guys. This is just a dress rehearsal for the live stream next week. I can't wait. I'm glad we kind of got our feet wet with the live streaming and the chat. Thank you, everybody who gave super chats here for the stream tonight. I said this earlier, but make sure you're following the Fully Inflated Football Show. I'm very tapped out content-wise, just editing, recording in front of the camera. It's just been a lot. I still have to do my offensive line discussion. I want to revisit the wide receiver class and kind of talk about my rankings there. I'm just going to have a podcast format, probably just audio. I'll upload it on the YouTube channel. The audio version of the Fully Inflated Football Podcast will be available as well, so make sure you subscribe to that. That'll be up either tomorrow or Sunday, whenever it happens. We're also doing 7-round mock drafts over on the Patreon. We're doing one for every single team. So if you want to see me draft for your team, it's patreon.com/thatfranchiseguy. I can drop the link on that. You still got time. I'm just getting all my plugs in here while you guys are here. You still got time to get your TFG merch. We got draft season hoodies, you name it. We're on the clock here. That is thatfranchisestore.com. I know who I'm going to take, you guys. And it is going to be... Oh, did he already get drafted? I wanted to take that 5'7" linebacker out of wherever. Actually, we said we wanted to take a wide receiver with some value here, so let's do that. Mitchell Tinsley is always my guy that I take. This guy's really fun. I tweeted about him a week ago, but he is Kendrick Bourne reincarnated. It's actually pretty crazy when you watch them play. So I think Tinsley might make the team. I think he might take either Noah Brown or Amari Rogers' job. So our draft, we can recap our draft. We went Stroud at 2. It was a little bit chaotic. I was originally going to take Will Anderson, but I'm actually very happy that we took CJ Stroud. Seeing the way this thing played out, I feel like we really filled out this team nicely and got us ready to go. I think Stroud's going to be really well set up for success. We took Lucas Van Ness. Was a panic pick, but I'm very happy about it. I think getting that pass rusher is going to be such a core demand for that defensive line. Even in hindsight, even with Witherspoon still there, and Witherspoon next to Derek Stingley would be insane. But what's the pass rush going to look like in front of those guys, in front of those young corners? And I don't know. I think you have Steven Nelson back there, who's a vet. We took 2 great developmental options late. And Lucas Van Ness is going to help that pass rush right away. Took Luke Whippler. We actually passed on Tippmann to make this pick, but Whippler was CJ Stroud's center. I think when you can restore that chemistry, that center quarterback relationship, I think that's just fine. Also, from a scheme fit perspective, Luke Whippler, really good at wide zone blocks. We got a Shanahan system coming in. Gervin Dexter was the risk pick here. He's either going to suck or he's going to be amazing if a coach can teach him how to get off the damn football. I talked about him in my D-line video, but he is the weirdest player I've ever seen. It's like nobody ever coached him to watch the ball and go. He's a great athlete. He still wins despite standing straight up every play. He's 21 years old. He was a team captain. The upside between him and Lucas Van Ness is absurd. Dorian Williams, excellent 4th-round pick. I've got a 3rd-round grade on him. You've got two linebackers now. I'm just going to start him and Christian. I always struggle with his name too. Christian Harris out of Alabama last year. 2 linebackers that ran in the 4.4s for D'Amico Ryans to build around. And then Jay Ward is your safety understudy to Jimmy Ward, which is obviously the word plays there is insane, but he's a similar guy. Slot corner, loves to hit. Really good situation for him to kind of sit and learn. Mo Ibrahim is a backup running back. I'm taking him at the end of the draft every single time. Anthony Bradford's a big bruiser, O-line depth. And then Mitchell Tinsley, I've got a 4th to a 5th round grade on Mitchell Tinsley. He's Kendrick Bourne. Watch him play. Look at the pro comps. Read my tweet about him. Check out my Patreon and read my scouting report on him. It is absurd. Kendrick Bourne, by the way, went undrafted. But there you go. Texans fans, you'll have to let me know what you think. Thank you, everybody, for joining the live stream. This was a ton of fun. I'm going to go drink some beer and watch sports. And, we'll have a podcast up this weekend. We're going to get through the rest of those 7-round mock drafts on Patreon. We'll have a predictive mock on Monday. And that's pretty much it for content until the live stream next Thursday. I'm going to be finishing my evals and trying to kind of recoup some energy here for the big week ahead next week. So thank you so much. It was a great live stream. Thanks for joining me here tonight. Peace out.